I don't really like this girl.
You're not going to get to the next level of your life until you understand that everything is fake. Our jobs, our systems, our corporations, our social structures, power structures, it is all just a collective agreement, like a shared agreement that we've bought into.
Does she sound kind of snobby, telling us we're not at the next level of our lives while not acknowledging the harsh realities we face daily? Maybe. Bear with it.
Even your career is fake. Even your career is just a performance that you're agreeing to.
Fake? How could you call such a huge part of our lives fake? That's rude.
Once you realize that nothing is real and everything is a social construct, it stops having power over you and you have power over it.
Alright, sure. It doesn't help that she can't keep still, so it feels like she's downplaying the severity of actual problems caused by all these fake social constructs. But she definitely raises a good point worth discussing and examining further. So let's ascend above our personal grievances with the messenger.
I have a lot of wealthy friends, and I also have a lot of broke friends.
All of it.
Yeah, so you can see that when you juxtapose the two, it looks like you're calling your poor friends stupid.
So I have a lot of friends, and some of them are rich, and some of them are dirt poor, like the scum at the bottom of my shoe.
To process the implications of her message, that our work is fake. Well, we're fresh off the last video about how low people have to stoop just to make enough to survive. Isn't it a bit pretentious to talk like you're above the very real problems caused by not having the fake money in a fake system? I agree, the problems are real. We're not denying how she said it made it a bad day to have ears and good attention span. But check this out for 1 second.
I can actually piggyback off of John's point. Let's pivot, circle back on that, and take it offline. Integration, disruption, alignment, synergy, game changer.
Now, are you really gonna look at that and tell me that what they're saying isn't some fake language? I'm Phil. I'm Pierce. I'm Todd. And everything not saved will be lost. Safe to say, here are some things about career and money that aren't lost.
We level set our vertical integration to pivot our positioning in order to strategically scale and put a pin on key metrics to really tackle the low-hanging fruits and expand our bandwidth.
Why are they making these noises? Don't think too much about it. It's part of a long, non-linear process of attaining more money and/or authority. You wouldn't get it. Oh. If all this language is familiar to you, maybe you've been on LinkedIn lunatics, a mix of rampant virtue signaling, cringeworthy titles, and stories that could have come straight from r/that happened. Dad gave you this talk, 181 missiles fired at you, climbed a mountain, proposed to your girlfriend, attended a Coldplay concert, overrode your wife's authority, CEO seduced your wife, got divorced. What did it teach us about B2B sales? Well, when all authentic human experience is packageable as self-promo material and people make up a corporate language to make more money, we arrive at this weird place where fake things get real rewards, or at least prevent real problems. Okay, so this isn't a LinkedIn Lunatics video. I might do one just for it another time, but it's perfect we're on here because this post captures almost everything this video is about. All the fake jobs are high pay, and all the real jobs are low pay. What a wild tweet by my friend. And he's right. Think about it. Remove trash collectors, truck drivers, and power plant maintenance workers, and society stops in about 48 hours. Morgan Housel. But influencers make millions. Course creators make 7 figures. Newsletter writers make 500k plus. Meanwhile, teachers make 50k, writers make 60k, truck drivers make 90k. Okay, teachers and drivers made sense because both are direct work to either the end user or the source supply. But you lost me a bit at writers, because just a second ago, newsletter writers made a lot. The system feels backwards, and maybe it is, but there is a pattern here. The people in the first group owned their own distribution, built their own platforms, created their own categories. They realized something powerful. The real money isn't in having a job in the system, it's in owning the system. And the only way to own it is to own your distribution channel. Come get the 111 steps I used to grow to 700k plus here on LinkedIn and turn that attention into 9.4 million in profit over 6 years. Here's my complete playbook. It sucks that he's actually right about yet another thing that's probably what's wrong with society. We reward fake things. We can kind of extend his point from just influencers and course creators versus teachers and truck drivers to a more general view of middleman type jobs versus direct work jobs that we touched on before. What we didn't say back then was that the middleman roles tend to pay more than the direct work. They're more white-collar, corporate, and high-skilled. Therein lies the issue. If any normal person outsider were to ask what their work is supposed to do for society, it's a bit difficult to explain it like I'm 5 in one sentence. Unlike any of these direct jobs, their middleman job scope is a bit of a black box to outsiders. Oh, okay. That would explain why most of these jobs require higher education or even higher intellect in order to understand them. Alright, most of this type of work definitely has complexities that require actual intellect, processing information, pattern recognition, and memory. But also, a whole lot of intelligence just goes towards creating the fluff, smoke, and mirrors to inflate perceived importance. The work itself that they do may not actually contribute as meaningfully as other more direct work we may be getting paid less for. Then it kind of becomes a little understandable why blue-collar workers might sometimes see the white-collar corporate crowd as out of touch or snobby. Same reason why the proletariat may not have liked the bourgeoisie. Don't get us wrong. To clarify again, it does take actual intellect to own your distribution, and we do need to be smart enough to successfully create the perception of limited supply. Then price go up, we make more money. Yay! How meaningful is the work? What does it do for other people in terms of boosting odds of survival and motivation to live? Maybe it's a step in a complex process that does something real. Or maybe it's as fake as the common person assumes it to be. Who cares? We make more money, and that's real, right? Did anyone give up on a corporate career and go back to doing a simple job and living a simpler lifestyle? 32-year-old single female, having an existential crisis because I absolutely hate every job I've had for the last 10 years. Marketing jobs, on the basis of how utterly pointless it seems to me. I like how, of course, this OP is in marketing, the quintessential middleman type role. I can't escape this feeling of who cares and what's the point, as my colleagues nitpick over the smallest details that no consumer would ever notice or care about. She's clearly not convinced by what her work is supposed to do, how it adds value to the end user. That tends to happen when we work in the middle of the many convoluted processes to eventually benefit someone. We get lost. It's only human to feel our role may be negligible. It shocks me how much time and energy goes into making, for example, a social media post that 99% of people will just scroll right past because no one actually cares. That's the organic social stuff which has a modicum of integrity. Then there's the performance social posts which are just absurd, stupid, misleading, clickbait bull designed to manipulate people into clicks and views to feed the algorithm. I find the whole thing so gross I don't want anything to do with it. Yes, we also don't want anything to do with it. Nobody wants to work these days. Okay, before anyone comes at us, our video right before this one is exactly about choosing a toxic job over homelessness. And we did an even earlier one about long-term joblessness in the worst job market ever. So yeah, we're well aware that complaining about full-time stable employment can sound like first world problems of ungrateful, entitled people. But as we've said before, maybe they're onto something because there's something seriously wrong with a world where nobody deserves to be alive unless we earn it, where we currently use too much life just working for money. I've worked on certain projects which didn't make me want to vomit, like, for example, a website needs to be designed and I can see there's a reasonable need for it. I'm happy to work on that, but it always ends up going too far. How can we optimize everything to infinity? Let's A/B test it, in my opinion, one of the greatest shams of our time, needing to put a value on every click of a button, coming to ludicrous conclusions about the annual revenue of UX optimizations, the need for never-ending and perpetual growth. I'm exhausted and completely disillusioned with this. Am I the only one who thinks this is all a load of and it's gone way too far? No. I think I'm about to give up and quit, simplify my life by moving back home, focus on finding a meaningful relationship and reconnect with my family. Spend more time in nature, get some waitressing job or something, which doesn't want my very soul. Hey, we support you, but that's pretty useless to you. All the best to achieving the freedom you deserve. The corporate world is pretentious and pointless. I don't understand the corporate world. It's so pointless and meaningless, full of useless meetings, deadlines, jargon, a false sense of urgency. The list goes on. Oh, what? Another person who agrees that the corporate world may not be contributing meaningfully to society? Wild. I don't understand people who take their work way too seriously when their job is not all that serious or big a deal. Bosses who are evil and mean to their subordinates. Okay, one of our definitions of adding value is increasing motivation to live. And bosses who are evil and mean do the opposite of that. Obsessed with productivity and efficiency, chasing after meaningless corporate goals and KPIs just to make the bosses richer while the rest of us peasants suffer endlessly. Of course, most people's definition of adding value is this. Where's George Carlin when you need him? Ah, there he is. We're still not ready for class commentary. I understand we all have to work to survive. I need to work to have money to sustain myself, but I don't understand bosses and those people who take things way too seriously. For those people whose jobs literally define them and are their identity. Job descriptions as self-descriptions, let's go! Hey, work is such a huge part of their lives. You can't blame them. Yes, you are right. I am my job. Beep bloop. I feel like everyone is putting on a meaningless show. Not to mention all the backstabbing and double-faced people who talk behind your back and try to pull you down. I also don't understand why some people think they're better than others just because they have a high position. At the end of the day, when we all die, work will not matter at all. No one cares about your pretentious job title outside of work, in fact. I don't understand why we have to treat CEOs and bosses like VIPs, like we're peasants that have to bow down to them. Why do we do this? When my boss stresses me out, chasing for deadlines and so on, I get very stressed and anxious, but when I step back and think about it, what is all this for? May we recommend a combination of what's the point of being alive and what is work supposed to do? Okay, but for real, this is how lost a person can get in the middle of the big, interconnected system of businesses symbiotically helping each other to beat other alliances of businesses. Am I looking at this wrong? I'm a mid-40s, some would say sort of successful guy. Wife, kids, house, cars, couple of vacays a year. Got laid, nice. Off in September, oh. Big corporate reshuffle, not personal or production sales, but I think I'm done. Every job opening I look at, all I can think about is how BS corporate America is. It's a game. See? Someone with actual real problems agrees with Courtney, the grating and preachy girl at the start who didn't acknowledge the problems we face. Meetings all day to do what? Grow said company? We beat the numbers, yay! Yay, who gives a f, to be honest? After 20 years in the game, it doesn't make sense anymore. Well, you ran so we could walk, because nowadays it doesn't take 20 years to find out it doesn't make sense. At this point, there's a clear pattern of middleman type workers all not really knowing what's their value add to the end user. Neither blue nor white collar workers believe in the meaningful contribution of these high-skilled, high-paying jobs. Not that it matters, someone's still gotta fill these fake spaces in society to get paid well and pretend to be important. Grinding it out 50 to 60 hours a week to make a company billions, and I get to go to Aruba once a year? Okay, oops, spoke too soon. I guess even if the job is pretend, the time you sacrifice to earn that salary isn't pretend, because that's a huge part of his life. I've had a bunch of drinks, so I'm sorry for the rant, but I just don't agree with the game or think I want to play it anymore. Do you think OP can afford not to? I mean, he's the definition of adults with responsibilities, and they were the most concerning demographic of our previous video. Well, if he can, that's stellar. Godspeed. In conclusion, again, we're fresh off the heels of literal homeless people working every day. So all these corporate servants are still getting paid considerably well for their high-skilled labor. We've watched them complain about the meaningless of it all, have the luxury to quit and do less, and to top it off be told to get to the next level when we might barely be on any level. Of course it would rub some of us the wrong way, but we're not here to divide, we're trying to encourage understanding. Sure, it's fake money in a fake system, yeah, it's a worldwide game, but our problems are very real, and we'll never discount that. We're all born as weak human beings with unbreakable tethers to our physical needs. We'll always be slaves to our vessels, unless we can let go of life itself. So we totally always encourage seeking a mental consciousness that can ascend the feeling that life is a prison, or possibly even something beyond just mental. Anyway, don't mind what anyone has to tell you about living, especially not us. Don't do it because you want to, but because you should. And keep doing it based on your best judgment. But also keep sharpening your judgment. Live well. Here at LTAp, we make content about what it means to live well, as a kind of answer to everything. There could be billions of different interpretations to this, since ultimately everybody gets to decide for themselves individually. But if you're interested in our suggestions, you could stick around with us. We have a lot to answer. For a friend.